think it's spending time with your customers. I think that when you talk to your people outside of selling, outside of fighting churn, just talk to your customers. Like, people love your products. And like, when do we actually celebrate the wins? And so in those moments that you do feel a little bit of that win, that dopamine hit, like, celebrate, do it.
Welcome to Winning Wednesdays with Pear VC, where the early stage founder community gathers to learn real go-to-market tactics and level up their game. Each week, we share fast, tactical insights to help you win your first customers, close bigger deals, and grow smarter. Whether it's discovery fundamentals, upselling, partner selling, or gritty stories from founders who've been in your shoes, this is your midweek shot of momentum. Let's win together.
Today, we're thrilled to have Katie Jane Bailey with us, who will walk us through all things upselling. Katie Jane Bailey is a sales advisor and consultant. Her sales leadership work builds on her experience as a top senior enterprise account executive and then enterprise AE manager at Figma. Katie Jane is a naturally curious sales professional who came into the industry from a fairly unorthodox path. As a musical theater professional, Katie Jane was an accomplished singer, dancer, and actor in productions ranging from off-Broadway and national tours to extensive regional theater and concert work. But don't tell Katie Jane Bailey that acting and sales have nothing to do with one another. Katie Jane has leveraged her performing skills to achieve a successful sales career. And I'm so excited to have her. She is one of the greats, and we'll have so many wonderful insights to share. So without further ado, Katie Jane, the floor is yours.
Love it. Thank you so much, Anna. I'm so honored by that introduction. But hi, everyone. So great to meet you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me 10 seconds here. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, it looks great.
Awesome. Cool. Well, just to kind of give a run of show of how we're going to go about this today. We're talking about I call it parentheses upselling, because upselling is really just sales. It's really sales with existing customers. And so a lot of the tactics that we're going to talk about today not only apply to existing customers, but they also apply to prospects as well. So I think a lot of this will hopefully resonate, and we're going to, how we're going to run this time. We'll take about 20, 30 minutes to go through some presentation. I'd love to get to know a little bit more about who all is on the call, your companies, your products. I'll give you more of an introduction to me, even though Anna just thank you, Anna, for that. And then we're going to get into some tactical tools, and then we'll do Q&A. A lot of you sent some great questions before this, so I've tried to incorporate some of those into the presentation, but feel free to jump in and ask questions as we go, or put them in the chat. And I may answer them right away, or I may say, can we punt that to the end? So yeah, that's how it's gonna go. All right, so to start with a little meet and greet. So I'm Katie Jane, 10 years in tech sales, selling, upselling, and managing. Most recently finished a 5-year stint at Figma. I was very fortunate to be the third sales hire at Figma, so I got to work very closely with Dylan in the early days. Dylan, our co-founder and CEO, and to go places where you're like, it's me and Dylan in LA. No one's ever heard of Figma before. No one's doing multiplayer, and we're like, hey, can we talk to you about this product? It was an amazing time. It was incredible, and it was really what shaped what I'm doing now, which is working in what I call the gray area between founder-led sales and sales-led sales. So, being with Dylan in those in-persons, on calls, and watching him go from being the main person talking to our enterprise customers to transitioning that to giving up that ownership to a sales team was really fun and really exciting. And I think where you all are at is in that gray area, right? Like, sales and the milestones you have to hit are difficult, and you have a lot on your plate, and that's the area I love to live in. So that's what we're going to live in today. To finish that, what I am doing is I have a consulting firm called Good Sales that I work with founders. So that is me. Okay, we're gonna get to know you all on the call. There may be like a live viewing session who might not get to participate in this, but that's okay. Okay, so if you could start by hopping in the chat and telling me fill out these polls. So how do you feel about upselling? Are you very nervous about it? Are you crushing it? How is it? How do you feel? Second is, what are you upselling? So are you upselling new products that already exist? Are you selling products that are on the roadmap? You're trying to get some early adoption. Are you trying to do expansion? So that might be more seats, or it might just be more adoption of your current footprint. Are you trying to break into new business units or other? And then lastly, when was your last in-person customer visit? Hopefully all of you put the first bullet point, which is in the last month. That would be amazing. But yeah, how to share with us where you're at. And then Anna, tell me when it's done. I'm not going to fill it out since I'm not found.
We're getting good. I just realized you probably can't see the results, right? But I'm seeing them.
Can't see the results.
I'm excited to reveal momentarily. I'll wait. Nice. Maybe I'll give another minute for those on the move.
And maybe if someone clicks, I am crushing upselling, maybe you can hop on and tell us.
Right. You'll lead the presentation. Surprise.
There's such a range of things on your plate that upselling is. I'm really curious to hear from people, like where it falls on your list of priorities. Yeah. How are we doing, Anna?
Good. Should I end it? I wanted to ask, maybe we give folks a second to participate in the poll. When Dylan and you started upselling, like when did that happen in Figma's journey?
Yes. So the biggest questions around upselling, and we'll get to this in just a second, are when and how, right? Those are the biggest questions that you have to answer. And all of us want it to be like a data, or like just look at the data and it'll inform you. That's not the case in like 9 times out of 10. So for Figma, we started upselling right away. Like it was a true up model where you're like, it's a product led growth kind of thing. So every sale in a way was an upsell. Yeah, it's different for everybody.
So cool. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. Here's the results. Can everyone see those now? Or do I have to hit share?
I think share, maybe.
Okay, share results.
Okay, love it. All right, 43%. I'm very nervous about upselling. We should do like a poll at the end and see if everyone feels more confident about upselling.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Unsure, but willing to try. Feel pretty good. Okay, great. New products that exist. New products on the roadmap. Great. Okay. Ooh, other. Who answered other? Can you hop on and share what other is of what you're upselling? Do you dare?
I wish I could see. It doesn't let me see who answered. It's anonymous, you guys.
Sorry, I could jump in. I think at Kale, we are also selling more of the same business to our customers. So essentially just trying to upsell their spend with us on the same product.
Okay.
It's very much like an input-output product. So you spend more, you get more.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Buffy, thank you so much for jumping on. You're so brave. Can you give Katie Jane a summary of what Kale is? Just because it might be a new product to her.
Yeah, we're a marketing tech platform that sells into marketing tech stacks. And we essentially allow everyday customers of brands to post social media content featuring brand products and get rewarded for those, for promoting the brands, essentially. So the input-output there is that brands can pay Kale however much money they want to use to reward customers with. And the more that they give us, the more that we can make from that.
Okay, love it. I think I've heard of Kale. Have I heard of
Kale? And it's in our portfolio, so you may.
Okay, amazing. Okay. I mean, I eat a lot of kale, so
that could be it too.
No one's probably ever said that to you before, but okay, cool. I think I'm understanding that, but let's put a pin in that and keep that going. Okay, last customer, last person, 43% of you in the last month. Amazing. And then someone, maybe two people, 12 plus months ago. We can change that. We can change that starting today. Love it. Okay, amazing. Well, let's get into this. So you guys are seeing my screen. Okay, so before we get into like the tactical tools, I want to talk a little bit about like what is upselling and how we define it. So upselling is today we're going to talk about it in context of more money from current customers or current contracts in place. So not a prospect, not someone who is not using your product at all, but someone who is currently using your product that you are trying to expand your footprint. For the sake of today's exercise and these tools, we are going to help you focus on identifying your top accounts for upselling. And these strategies are going to basically be strategies you apply when the juice is worth the squeeze. So these are not tactics that you're applying to like your all 100% of your current customers, unless you only have 5 customers, which is also great. But I just want to clarify that before we get going. I'm going to use the terms upsell and cross-sell. So upsell would be like what Rafi just said, where you're trying to get more money out of the current business unit. And cross-sell would be like the sales team is currently using our product, and we would like to try to get the marketing team to use our product. So that is a way to get more money from the same customer, but it's really kind of like a net new sale with warm introductions. So just some differentiation for us to use on language. Like I said at the beginning when Anna was asking around, Dylan and I going in person to meet customers. When do you upsell? What are the indicators that show you this is right for an upsell? This is not maybe the answer you want to hear, but it depends. So there are so many factors that you as the founder or whoever is managing your sales funnel should be isolating for what is specific to your business, your goals, and your product specifically. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But another theme we're going to talk about a lot is know your customer. And know your customer is not just, the pain points and like, here's the challenges that our product solves. It's like, what is the company that I'm selling to? What are their milestones they're trying to reach? What are their challenges that more of my product help them solve for their pain points? And the only way that you're really going to know the answer to those questions is by building a relationship with those customers and getting to know them outside of the selling motion. So when, it depends. Okay, let's talk about some tactical tools. Okay, so tool number 1, we are going to identify and prioritize. So identify goes to the, what are the accounts that I am going to focus on? As founders, you guys have so much on your plate. You're not only upselling, you are learning how to upsell, but you are also building your product, you're hiring, you're fundraising, you have so much on your plate. And so you need to pretty quickly identify where to spend your time and then commit to that. So don't pick your 5 and then stick to your 5. Or if it's 10, pick your 10, stick to your 10. If it's 2, pick your 2 and stick to your 2. You're balancing new logos versus existing logos. And by focusing on your time in both of those motions, you're going to learn so much more than trying to like catch every upsell possible. Okay, so how do you identify and how do you prioritize? Let's talk about identify. So an exercise you might want to do today, and this doesn't need to take a long time, you can probably take 30 minutes to do this, is look at different data sources available to you and figure out how you want to label your what we would call top accounts. So that might be company size, that might be adoption rate. So Rafi, for you, if you see adoption rate is already escalating on its own, pour gasoline on the fire. your relationship to the customer. So if you have someone who's willing to meet with you, they are singing your praises, spend time with them. Maybe make them one of your top accounts. This is like less black and white, but use your instincts. So if you have a customer that you're like, I think there's a lot more to win here, go for it. Like, trust your instincts. You know your product, you know your companies and your customers better than anybody else. So go for it. You look at product usage. So are people using your product more and more week over week? And then signups. Are people signing up organically outside of any kind of sales motion that you are doing? And then all of your marketing, data points as well. So again, this is going to be specific to you and your product. Anna is an amazing resource. If you're like, I just need to bounce this off someone, bring those data points to her and be like, this is how I'm thinking about it. What am I seeing? What am I not seeing? So those are some data points. Any questions about that before I keep going? Cool. All right. So isolate a criteria that aligns with your product. Then select your top, however makes most sense for you, 1, 2, 3, 10, and then reach out to all of those customers and set up an in-person meeting. Set up a quarterly business review. Set up time to engage with this person outside of trying to sell them more products or get them to use it more. Like, set up time to get to know this person and this company. So you might be like, okay, I have like so much on my plate. Like, why is this worth my time? The reason it's worth your time is, one, it's your customer. Your customer, if there's a founder who is more obsessed with customers than Dylan Field, I have not met that person yet. Dylan to this day lives in support tickets in Figma. He is so close to his customers. And that is going to be your fuel for everything. So outside of selling, you should be meeting with your people in general, which I don't have to say that to all. You all know that. Second of all, you might be like, what's my excuse for reaching out? Like, they probably have a lot going on. Like, why would they want to meet with me? First of all, they want to meet with you because you are the founder of this company, which is like as cool as it gets. Like, you are the person who understands their pain points so much that you built a product to solve it. So you are someone who can deeply relate to them, and you can talk their talk. You've probably walked their walk. And so you can have a really meaningful conversation with them. And if you're like, what's the mechanism for reaching out? Very simple. Hey, you've been using our product for 6 months now. We haven't actually talked about how it's going. Can I take you to lunch and hear more? And step on the scale. Ask them. So what's working, what's not working? And they're going to be very, very honest with you. And you're going to learn so much. And so it doesn't have to be this big, complicated, big thing. Just simply set time outside of selling. Let me check my notes here. Okay. So then, so you have the customer, you have the engagement. Now what, right? How do I engage outside of selling? When I was selling, when I was at Figma, I actually closed a lot of our really large financial institutions. So I brought in JP Morgan, Citigroup, and Morgan Stanley. And all of those decision makers are in New York. And so with my theater background, I took many people to many fabulous Broadway shows and to dinner. My husband and I would take, my Citigroup contact and his partner. We would go to dinner and a show whenever we were in New York. And that led to the type of relationship where he was very open and transparent with me with what was working, what was not working, and where we could expand the footprint. And that footprint expanded a lot in a very short period of time because we had the right contacts and we had the right trust in place. Another story, when we were trying to close Spotify really early in the Figma days, we had these really strong champions who were designers. And so one of Figma's designers and I went to Sweden, and we said, where do you guys want to go to dinner? We took them to really fabulous dinner, and then we went out to all the Swedish clubs that night. And so you're meeting them in a place that is fun and exciting for them, and you're just building a relationship that builds a foundation of trust. And it's like, is this a good use of my time? Absolutely. If you can go in person, it is absolutely worth your time, and it will deliver way more than you may anticipate. So if you're trying to figure out like, what can I do with this person? Anything. Ask them, well, what would you like to do? At a minimum, hey, I'm in town. I'd love to meet up. I'd love to take you to coffee. So engage with your people outside of selling. I'll pause. Any questions? No questions. Love it. Everyone's just taking it in like, oh, okay, I'm emailing all my people right now, figuring out which Broadway show to go to. Love it. Okay, so do your homework. This seems obvious, but it is not. It is not something people always do. So do your homework. If you're going to set up a good relationship with someone, you should prepare. You prepare well. And remember, we're talking about your top 5 accounts. We're not talking about, all 100 customers or all, 1,000 customers. We're talking about your top ones that the juice is worth the squeeze. So for your meeting to go well, you need to prepare well, which we're going to talk about, and you need to become a student of their business and solve their problems. So how do we do that? Oops. Okay, so familiarize yourself with their business. Ask ChatGPT to give you a summary of their annual report, or if they're a privately owned company, a summary of any recent news. Try to ask ChatGPT for a summary of their investors update. ChatGPT is the most amazing resource for familiarizing yourself with your customers and their business, because it just fast tracks you to the information. You want to go in now that this person is your customer. You are now their strategic partner. You are not just a product they are buying, but you want to think of yourself as a strategic partner helping solve their problems. So, quick story. ADP was a really difficult account for us to close. And I owned the relationship with ADP. They were not a customer. And I was, on my walk home, I was listening to their investors update, the recorded investors update, as you do as a salesperson. And I heard them talk about, the chief product officer, I heard him talk about that a new design that they were rolling out, they were seeing a significant increase in usage. And so they were rolling out a new design to their entire product suite, because that's where they saw the future growth of ADP in the next few quarters. And I mean, that's like as good as it gets if you're selling a design tool, right? And so we secured a meeting with the main decision maker, which was nearly impossible to do. And so I came armed and ready, and I said, Joe, incredible work so far. Your team is leading the way for the growth of ADP in the next few quarters. Did I get that right? And he had this huge smile on his face. He's like, yeah, that's us. And it was this moment of, I wasn't looking at, oh, how much Figma usage did you have? Oh, what features of Figma are you using? I was looking at, what is ADP trying to achieve? How are they achieving it? And can my product help them achieve that? And that contract went from 0 to 500K in under 6 months. And it was all because we attached to their business initiative with just a little bit of homework on my side. So ahead of being with your people, wrap your head around their business, their challenges, and be prepared to ask them about that. Cool. All right. So familiarize yourself with their business. Revisit their experience so far with your product. Are they actively using it? Why did they buy it in the first place? Are there sales calls you can read a summary of the initial call? You want to go into it feeling like they know you. And then lastly, think through the questions and the business challenges you can talk to them about when you meet them. So, an example might be, hey Jeff, I'm super excited to catch up. One thing I'm really interested in hearing is, I think you guys are pretty close to raising your Series A, but you're trying to hit this one milestone. Did I read that correctly from blah, 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 And the conversation just totally opens up, because It's about them and it's about their challenges. And then it will very organically come to the surface of how your product can help them achieve those things. So you may be noticing a trend, right? Like, I don't think I've talked about your product for more than like a minute or two in any of these tactical tools. So you're not pitching, we can do this, or we can solve your problems, or we can do, you're making all of your interactions about them and their challenges. Because once they are a customer, you have something to lose. Not only something to gain, but you have something to lose. And so you want to put yourself in a position that you are a strategic partner, you are a thought partner, you are a trust partner. And the way you do that is the homework and the legwork to actually, getting to know them and their challenges. Okay, before we go on to our last tools, any questions about that? I know Ben and Rollins are like dying to ask a question.
Wow, the cold call. Katie Jane, you're just...
I know, I gotta pull them out. That's okay, Rollins, you can save your question for the end. All right, so let's talk about burning question, how? Tactical tools. All right, so one thing I like to use, thanks for the thumbs up, Rollins. So one thing I like to talk about is the bold ask. So some of you sent in questions around like, how do you engage these enterprise clients to do like a larger commitment after a small pilot? Or how do you get other teams to evaluate my product? How do I get a current company that's using my product to look at using more of my product? And I call it the bold ask. Like, you just have to ask. And it can be super uncomfortable, but you got to go for it. And everything we've been talking about up until now leads to a foundation where you can make that ask. So if they feel known by you, if they trust you, then making an ask of, hey, would you be down to introduce me to John Smith on the marketing team? They'd be like, oh yeah, we love your product. Heck yeah, of course I'd love to do that, right? So you just got to make the ask. So tool number one of how, be prepared to make the ask. Be prepared to stand behind the value that your product brings and the value you have brought so far, and ask. Number two, at Figma, we spent a lot of time in what, like, your champion, some people call it like a scale agent. So we would like figure out who within the organization would be really good for taking transferring Figma knowledge into the organization without us. So, for example, GoDaddy was an account that I brought in that there's this guy who was like obsessed with Figma, and he was so talented with Figma, and he was really like amped about bringing the product to that company. And so when we first, in the lead up to signing the contract, I met with him weekly to talk about how he was going to roll it out. And we partnered with him in how to train the teams, but we really trained him on how to be a trainer. And then we helped him think through, like, do you have a Figma Slack channel in place? Like, do you have executive sponsors who will back you up for XYZ? And can we introduce Dylan to one of those executive sponsors? So the people who you feel are like a true champion or a scale agent or can represent you internally at their company, we put a lot of investment into that person. We spent a lot of time with them. We offered them resources that were above and beyond like what we agreed to in the contract. And it paid huge dividends. So that would be, so number one, be comfortable with the bold ask. Number two, invest in your champion and your scale agents. So people who are going to help scale it internally or expand it without you there. We also spent a lot of time at Figma trying to figure out, like, systematically who scale agents might be. So it would be worth your while to say, like, for my product, what's the right team that will scale this without me having to do the legwork. At Figma, it's design systems teams. So if you can get in with the design system team on a design tool, then like the whole design and product team is going to use it. So what is that for you? And again, Anna is a great resource to kind of bounce ideas off of. You probably have a good idea, but spend if you can connect with that team that you think is going to be your scale agent, invest the resources to helping that person. And then last two things. So outreach to other teams. This is something that we did all the time at Figma, and it is a little bit of forgiveness over permission, but just reach out to the other teams. So when I was working with Morgan Stanley, that was very difficult to bring them in. And I would reach out to so many design leaders and say, hey, this design team is looking at Figma. Thought you'd be interested in joining the evaluation. And maybe like 1 out of 4 times I got in trouble for that. But it resulted in more people joining the evaluation and a bigger deal and a faster close. So you have to do that one delicately, and you have to kind of think through, it shouldn't be a spray, but yeah, reach out to other teams. And again, going back to the bold ask your champions, ask your internal, or ask your customers for intros to those people. Yes. And then lastly, invest in the onboarding process. So that initial close, those first few months, help make that go as smoothly as possible so that A, you get to know the customer better, B, signs of this is right time for an upsell naturally and organically expose themselves, and C, you already have set yourself up for a good foundation to then go back and upsell them in 6 to 12 months. And again, the when totally depends on your product, your adoption rate, your everything. And if people want to bring up examples, we can talk through some examples now. But those are some technical tools of how. Any questions, thoughts, ideas, stories?
Hey, Katie, yeah, I have a question. I'm curious about the concept of the champion and the scale agent. Can you clarify what's the difference and how to identify one or the other a little more?
Yes. So they're not quite the same thing, but some people might use them interchangeably. I'll start with the champion. So if we want to get really geeky, there's a definition for sales champion, which is, oh my gosh, I haven't said these words in so long. Authority, influence, access to the decision maker. Oh no, shoot, I forgot the next one. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. So it's basically someone who not only has influence. So influence internally is I can go to people and they'll listen to me, right? I have authority, so I can make this decision, right? Access to the decision maker or economic buyer is the person who my boss owns the discretionary budget for this, and I can go talk to them and they'll listen to me. Advocates on your behalf. So that means they are, when you are not in the room, they are singing the praises of your product. They are doing a business case on their own, right? They're selling your product internally. And then vested interest. So vested interest would be someone who is I am tasked with increasing our awareness of our product. I don't have a tool that actually helps us, do the social exposure the way I need to. Therefore, this tool helps me achieve my personal goals. So there's a vested interest in a founder's success, right? So those are if you really want to get sales geeky about it, that's the definition. Personally, I think it's a super great exercise to ask yourself, the person you are selling to, do they fit those qualifications, right? Do they have authority within the company? It's pretty, you can test it pretty easily. If you say hey, we've been talking for 6 months. I'd love to bring your boss into these conversations. If they're ooh, let me talk to her about it, then they probably don't have access to the economic buyer, right? So, and you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste too much time on those people. So that would be a champion, and a champion is someone who can actually get a deal done for you internally, because some of these companies are very difficult to get a deal done. It's kind of easy for them to say yes, we want this, and much harder for them to actually like sign a contract. So that would be like a champion. If you are like this person has authority, influence, a vested interest, and they're advocating on my behalf, but they don't have access to the, like if it's like 4 to 5, like pour the resources in and then try to help them get up internally. If you're like, this person is like, doesn't seem to have what it takes, then like try to get around them. A scale agent would be someone who, what's your product? What's your company?
Yeah, we have Resiquant. So we have a platform for insurance companies to understand better what makes their buildings, safer or more dangerous for natural disasters.
Oh, okay, cool. And so do you have one specific person who would like manage the tool internally?
Yeah, so usually the VP of property is the one that's been serving generally as the champion. They make the decision. They're the ones who have the pain point, and they have a bunch of underwriters who use the tool today.
Yeah.
And sometimes we've seen underwriters, especially the more senior ones, who really love it because it solves a lot of their problems and let them do what they like better.
Yep.
Doing insurance stuff and not building stuff. So that's kind of how it works. Sometimes the VP, sometimes it's the underwriters.
So if the underwriters are the ones that are like using it kind of day to day, week to week, then you want to figure out for you, your scale agent would be the person who supports the underwriters, right?
Okay.
So like if I want the underwriters to like love this product and use it every day, they probably need a little bit of training. They probably need like somewhere they can ask questions, And so is there like an underwriter manager or like an account manager? And so that's the person you would probably want to invest a lot of resources, or not a lot, but more resources into, to say like, hey, do you have what you need to support your team? And like, what can we give you to support that team? And that would be an example of like a scale agent for you, is like what does it take for your product to scale internally? And is that a person? Is that like an implementation? Is it a training? So yeah, does that help?
Yes. There's a couple questions, follow-ups here, since we're talking about our context. There's an IT team who has like a different leader that we need to get on board to align or integrate our product to their workflows. So would that also be a scale agent? And then a follow-up is, there are different types of insurance products that we can serve that are usually in the companies they have a team for earthquake, a team for hurricane, a team for fire, and they have their own underwriters, their own structure. So how do you bridge that?
Yeah, I think so. So it's kind of like your sales process probably matches your implementation process, where like you probably have to get sign off from security on like, security clearance, and IT probably plays some role there, So when you're thinking through what a successful onboarding looks like for your product, then it's probably multifaceted, right? It's like with your economic buyer, so maybe that's your VP. Hey, what are the milestones we're trying to hit? And let's like work together to make sure that we're supporting your team to hit those milestones. With IT, it's like, what's your implementation like timing process? What do you guys need for us to make sure that you can get this squared away and secure and like all good to go? But then like IT is not using the product daily. The VP is not using the product daily. The underwriters are. So those are the people that you need the product to be like really sticky with, right? And so those are the people where like, get the VP what he needs, check the box, you want to invest in that relationship, but understand those milestones. IT, check the box, but like the end users are where your product's going to become sticky, right? So in 1 year's time, if they're looking at a renewal and IT is like super happy that this is secure, but the underwriters are like, it's too complicated for me to use, like they're going to go with the underwriters on whether they stay or not.
It's perfect, Kate. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great question, Francisco. Thank you. We got a question in the chat. Katie Jane, I want to respect your presentation. Should we just transition to questions now, or take
Yes, that is where we are. We are at questions.
Yay! Okay, good. Ben, yeah, do you want to ask? Go ahead. That's a great question.
Hi, Katie. I'm in the early stages of building a new startup and looking at a launch tier, sort of a scale tier, and sort of what enterprise pricing would look like. Is there any recommendations that you would put in place building our initial pricing and packages that would further facilitate upsells in the future?
Is it okay? So you said launch tier, scale tier, enterprise.
Yeah, like an enterprise would be like a custom pricing where launch and scale would be more SaaS.
Okay. And is it, given that you have these multiple tiers, is it like a product-led growth strategy, or is it like a direct sales approach for each of these?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think involved right now in the initial onboarding of all clients. So I would call it Pear PLG.
Aspirational PLG, maybe. Okay. So I think the only so two thoughts come to mind. One is Figma's biggest competitor is itself. So cheaper plans, right? So our biggest close loss reason for the longest time was just to stay on what we call the pro plan. So there's like on Figma, there's free, pro, and enterprise. So when it comes to pricing, you want to make sure that your enterprise offering is beefy enough that it justifies whatever price increase you're putting out there to people. But you don't want it to be like way too expensive that they just want to stick with whatever cheaper plan you offer, right? So one exercise that Figma continues to go through, because Figma actually then launched like an even more expensive enterprise plan, is like what's the driving why behind the enterprise plan? So what is the value? What are the pain points that your enterprise plan solves that your other tiers do not solve? Because then you have something to like bring to the table when you're talking to people about the price increase. That's one thought. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it makes sense. So our system works if you're running a co-marketing effort on the launch tier. That's one product. And then on the enterprise, if you want to get sort of ecosystem intelligence across all of your efforts, that's sort of an enterprise product versus one insights.
Okay, cool. So it's more of like a strategic move to go towards enterprise rather than like a one-off lane, basically.
Yeah. So, I mean, you wouldn't want a small B2B company paying the same as like a Microsoft or like a Twilio.
Right. Yeah. So I would, so that's one thing I would think about. And the other thing that I would think about is, this is like kind of risky to do, but Figma from the very beginning was very transparent about our enterprise pricing, and we did not discount. Figma does not discount, and there's like pros and cons. But for me, huge preference is no discounting. You can obviously negotiate like legal terms. You can negotiate, other things, but so that's something to at least consider is transparent pricing for your enterprise plan. If your product can work that way, I don't know, it might be too complex.
Would you put that on the pricing page now? Like contact us, just like put a large number right there, just put it there.
That's what. So Figma has their enterprise pricing on the webpage.
We'll take a look.
Yeah, they're seat-based, so that might be different too. But so like how you present your pricing might be different than like $900 a seat or whatever it is per month. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you could take the approach of just like no discounting, but not put it out transparently or test it, so just some thoughts.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. Pratik, we are a voice agent for loan servicing. Our champion at one of our customers loves our product, gives us feedback 2 to 3 times a week via Slack. Love it. We meet once per week. Love it. Near-term expansion comes from automating more voice use cases for them. We know what use cases they care about and have already mapped those out with them. How do we create urgency around implementing those additionally? Okay, without being pushy. Okay. Cool. Hi. Anything you want to add to that?
No. none of that.
So it sounds like your relationship with them is there, which is awesome. It sounds like the use cases are there. Have you talked to them about like timeline? Have you talked to them about that type of, like expectations?
Yeah, their feedback has been we'll keep working on the current use case that we're doing with them, continue to show value, keep making changes, adjustments to our product, and like as they see the results, then we'll work on implementing those next use cases. And we have the next use case on the roadmap in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But it's like it's very much sort of driven by them, which might be fine. Like they ultimately need to see the value, but curious if there's anything else that we can be doing to be like, hey, like, are you seeing value? What else can we be doing to help you get there and really get those additional use cases implemented as soon as it makes sense for them?
Yeah, I think what I would do in that situation is like kind of repeat back to them like what they're saying to you, like read between the lines. So okay, you guys are telling me that you would like to expand to use cases, but you're also telling me that you do not want to do that until you see enough value in the current use case. Am I understanding that correctly? And they'll be like, yep, that's correct. So you can say, okay, great. Just for transparency, what are the milestones? What is the value that you want to see? And like how close or far are we from that milestone? And can we, like we would like to actively work towards making sure that A, you're getting enough value, and B, we'd like to expand with you guys. So can we set up, a checkpoint that in 1 month, are we 50% of the way there? Are we 99% of the way there? And if you tell me like we're 50% of the way there, my question back to you will be like, okay, what's missing? And how do we get there? And if they keep dragging their feet, then say that to them. Like, okay, we've been talking about expanding for 6 months now, but the value is still just not there for you guys. Can you help me understand why? Like, talk me through that. So, I think that as founders and with like early adoption of products, there's so much give that it's hard to know when to hold the line, like ask for something in return. But you can absolutely do that early and often, as long as it's like respectful and both people have like buy-in to the process. So I think that's how I would approach it if I were you, because you also need to protect your resources and maybe you need to spend time somewhere else.
Understood. Super helpful, Katie, and I really like the concept of putting that checkpoint in place and then touching base with them at that, going, hey, like, are we delivering yes or no, or what else can we be doing? So I love that. And then the second question here is, we have additional products coming up on our roadmap around email automation. That's something that we would love to pilot or test with this customer as a step one, because they love our existing products so far. So how would you approach that conversation? Because that would effectively be a guinea pig or the first user of that product. So how do you sort of frame it in a way where it's appealing to, well, how do you frame it in a way where they know that they're the first person using it, but then that also gives them the right benefit versus being say, hey, you're customer number 3 or 4, you're customer 1, we're going to build this product for you. How do you frame that and really get them adopting those additional products?
Yes, 100%. So they know you're a startup, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think you can just, it sounds like your relationship with them is there. And so it sounds like you could be pretty straightforward, right? It's like, you could be like, hey, I want to like send an email that's like, hey, I want to talk to you about an idea I have for you guys. Can I have like 30 minutes next week? It's just an idea. You can say yes or no, but would love to just talk to you about it. And then, so don't do it by email. Do it by phone conversation, ideally Zoom, cameras on, and say like, so you guys know we're early stage. It seems like you guys like really like our product so far. We have this new product. I'd love, we're interested if you guys would want to be our first tester for it. Like, we recognize that would be work for you guys to be our first tester. We recognize there's risk, but we really love seeing you guys as a strategic partner for us. and we value your input. We think you guys have really great insights. Is this something you'd be open to?
Got it. I love that framing. And then from a pricing perspective, how would you approach that? Would you give it away for free? Would you still price it for them as being the first user?
I think I would be, I think I would be like open about it, right? So, so if you guys agree to this, so before you agree, like, let me just kind of talk to you about pricing, because that's obviously a factor here. This isn't a free product for us. Being our first user, we obviously wouldn't want to charge you until it felt right for both of us. But at this point, we would, after 1 year, we would like either expect you to like stop using the product or become a paid user of the product. We obviously don't need to have that conversation until that point. But just so you know how we're thinking about it. I think anything that is like bad news can't wait, right? Just like rip the Band-Aid off in the first conversation, because the worst thing that could happen is you don't talk to them about these like gotcha moments, and then a year later they're like, no, you told us this was free forever. And if they agree to it, put it in an email. Like, put it in writing so that you can reference back to it, and you can say like, we'd love for you to test for free for 1 year. At that point, we'd love for you to evaluate becoming a paid customer. You guys seemed to agree to this, but like, if you're definitely down, send me an email back saying like, yep, let's go.
Understood. Thank you, Katie. Super, super helpful.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, just Firefly notes. Okay. Rollins to add, since I've been called that. Sorry, Rollins, your name, like, it's a great name. It stuck out to me. Okay. I'd love to hear thoughts on the broader implications of different pricing strategies and how they should shape the approach to upselling. Yes. So this is kind of annoying, but it depends, right? The company I was at previous to Figma was an analytics company. It was not seat-based. It was just like annual subscription. And the usage went up a ton. And like a couple years into it, we reapproached all of our customers, and we basically like, hey, you're using our product way more than what we initially priced you at. So like your price is going up, right? And we had really great relationships with these people, and it was like a catastrophe. Like, I would say like 50% of the people upsold, and then 50% of the people churned as a result of that conversation. So it's like thinking through roughly your upsell pricing beyond just that initial contract is worthwhile. I doubt any of you are going to do that, but just to tell a story that was not successful. Figma, so Figma had a couple of upsells pricing strategies. One was tier based. So, the like free, pro, and there's actually like a weird org scan in the middle of pro and enterprise, and then enterprise. And so you could upsell by going up to the next tier, and the pro to that, right, is like more value, more money, more secure, more enterprise, like all the things. But the con was like our cheaper plans are our biggest competitor. Dylan, back in the day, this is like one of my favorite Dylan moments ever. We're like, Dylan, we're losing all these deals to ourselves. Like, this is why these deals are not winning. And Dylan looks at us just so matter of fact. He's like, well, are you using Figma? And we were like, yeah. And he's like, great. And he's just like so content with like people getting value out of Figma that like the dollar amount at that point like wasn't as important to him. And it was just you could tell he had very clearly thought through the implications of like how we are upselling. And then lastly, the only other thing I'll say, and right before we started this, Anna said that seat-based pricing is not as common anymore. But it's very difficult to fight churn as a seat-based contract. So if they're like, well, we're not, I mean, if we're not using these seats, we're downgrading, right? And so you just have pretty much no way to fight that. And so that's like also something we haven't really talked about in the upsell conversation is the churn when you're like a current customer is reducing contract size. So I think that's the only other thing I would add to it, Rollins, is like thinking through not only the potential upsell, but the downside of that strategy as well. So stories from the field.
Amazing. I love it so much. You're so full of wisdom, KJ, and I feel like we could go on and on and on about just hearing about your success stories and Broadway shows. I have so many questions, but the last, I know we're at time, so the last question we ask all of our guests is that, building's hard, and what is your best advice for these founders on keeping their momentum and energy up when they're getting rejected and maybe they're trying to upsell and it's not working, and just in the slog, in the thick of things, how do you stay motivated? What's the secret sauce?
I think it's spending time with your customers. I think that when you talk to your people outside of selling, outside of fight churn, just talk to your customers. Like, people love your products. There's a reason that they are using what you've built. And if you are engaging with them to just talk about those challenges, like, they're going to be excited about the fact that you have taken on their problems. You have taken on what's most difficult for them. Yeah, there's nothing like talking to a customer who's amped about what you're doing to keep you in it. And I think staying in it is, my husband's a founder, and staying in it was one of the most difficult things for him. And celebrating the wins was very unclear for him. Like, when do we actually celebrate the wins? And so in those moments that you do feel a little bit of that win, that dopamine hit, like, celebrate, do it. Yeah, those are my only thoughts.
Love that. Thank you. Round of applause for KJ Jane, audience. I know many of you have already posted comments and thanks in the chat. This was incredible, as expected. Thank you so much for your time. I hope everyone feels that much closer, several inches closer to winning. We'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.